Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Jai Shri Ram friends. Welcome back to my Vedic astrology channel, Astro Satyajit on YouTube. And today we are going to discuss in our live session one of the most important topics, okay, which is career. So many people would want to understand which is their actual career path, which is the path that they should choose in this lifetime for them to rise in their respective careers. This is one of those most critical questions you people will have while you are seeking astrological guidance from any astrologer. So I thought, let me cover the Shamsha and the most important, one of the most significant Karkas to be seen in a Dasamsa chart is Amatyakaraka. So we will talk about certain critical aspects of the Shamsha, which is the microscopic view of one's D1's 10th house. So the house of Karya, the house of Karma, the Dasham Sthan. Okay. So if we have to really go microscopically inside, it is the Dashamsha which has to be referred, and without assessing the Shamsha for an individual, there cannot be any career guidance given to an individual. It will be incomplete if we do not refer to the Dashamsha before we are giving any astrological career guidance to an individual. So, welcome friends, and I would request all my viewers to please do subscribe to my channel if they have not subscribed, and please do like and share my videos. And let's start with our topic for today, which is the Shamsha. Okay. Now, in my previous discussions, we have discussed about a couple of divisional charts which are extremely imperative in Vedic astrology. We said once we you know infer details from one's Lagna Kundli, which is the D1 chart, we have to invariably refer to the Navamsha, which is D9. And I also said that while we are suggesting astrological remedies, there's one critical chart which talks about all our past life janmas, the merits and demerits, the karmic baggage that we are carrying along, which is our Shashtiyamsha chart, the D60. However, when we are focusing on somebody's career, among all these, one critical divisional chart which needs to be referred is the Dashamsha. Now, if we are talking about Dashamsha, friends, there is a significator for every divisional chart. I would say there's a Karka for every divisional chart. That means when we were talking about the Navamsha, okay, which is the soul chart, the most important Karka in anyone's Navamsha is the planet Venus. So we would be extremely happy to see a well-placed Venus in Navamsha. Okay, that is God's grace if somebody has a well-placed Venus in their respective Navamsha charts. Likewise, in the Dashamsha, the most important Karka or the actual significator of anyone's D10 chart is the planet Saturn. So we need to have a very well placed, a very strong Saturn in one's D10 chart. It is a blessing. See, we are talking about karma. We are talking about the work life. We are talking about all kind of karmas that we will do in this janma. That is what we are trying to assess when we are going microscopically inside your 10th house and we are reaching your divisional chart, which is D10 or the Dashamsha chart. Now, the Karmadipati or the Karm Karaka in Vedic astrology is planet Saturn, Shani Dev. We have to assess the strength, how comfortably is that planet Saturn disposed in one's Dashamsha chart before we, give any kind of advice to somebody related to their respective careers. Now, if you remember, when we were doing our series where I was covering all houses of the Vedic chart along with all the 9 planets in Vedic astrology, I said that Saturn is Karma Karaka. whichever house Saturn is placed in your D1 horoscope, you need to work a lot. You need to make efforts in that particular house. And after making a lot of efforts is when you master that particular house. So the Kark Tattvas of those houses where Saturn is placed in your D1 horoscope are the ones that you need to work on. Likewise, when we are now going actually deeper, it is even more imperative to see which house Saturn is placed in your Dasamsa, in your D10 chart. Whichever house Saturn will be placed in your Dasamsa Kundali or the D10 chart is the area where you need to put in a lot of efforts. You have to work a lot in that particular house with respect to Kark Tattvas of that particular house. And that is once you master that house, once you slog, you work a lot with that house, okay, with respect to the Kark Tattvas of the house, only then you are actually, the results of that karma will get manifested in your life. So please remember to check where Saturn is placed in your Dashamsha. Okay, that's extremely important. I definitely will also say that we will look at the 10th house of the Dashamsha chart. So the 10th house of the D10 chart is definitely important because when we are doing the microscopic view of the 10th house and we reach the divisional chart, which is D10, it is definitely important to even look at the 10th house and the 10th house lord of the D10 chart, how well it is placed in your D10. We will also look at the strength of the ascendant lord of the D10. That will give me the overall flavor or the overall scheme with which, see, there might be that you work very hard in that direction wherever Saturn is placed in your D10. However, easy said than done, at times you might not be able to put in efforts in that direction where your Saturn is actually placed in your D10. Okay. Either you will not be making efforts through your own choice, so through your own free will, because of the different dashas and mahadashas that you will be running. Maybe you are not putting in efforts in the right direction, which is in alignment with the Saturn's placement in your D10 chart. However, when you have a strong ascendant lord of the D10, so that means the first house lord, okay, that governs the overall. See, the lagna becomes very important. When we were reading our D1 chart, we definitely gave lagna or the ascendant lord, the lagnesh. It was the most important planet, the ascendant lord. Okay. Likewise, in your D10 chart, the ascendant lord of your D10 becomes extremely, extremely important. The 10th house of your D10 chart becomes extremely important. And the main karma karaka, Saturn, plays a defining role and it exactly tells you which is the direction that you will put in your efforts. So that means questions like, what should be my line of work? Rather, it is the other way around, that in which direction do I need to make efforts in this Janma? In which direction my maximum amount of karma should be carried out in this Janma so that I rise in my career, I rise in my professional life? This answer, the placement of Saturn in your D10 holds. I hope this is clear, guys. Hello, everyone, and I hope we'll be having more people joining in. For sure. Today, the whole discussion is about career, Suryansh, and I'm covering the most important divisional chart to give any kind of career guidance to any individual using Vedic astrology, which is the Shamsha. And we are referring to those important aspects that in the Dashamsha we need to refer. So I said we will look at the Lagna Lord, the ascendant Lord of the D10, a well-placed ascendant lord of the D10 within the D10 chart will tell us that this, Prakriti or the universe will allow us or put less hurdles in our path when we are trying to do karma in the direction that we are supposed to carry out in this Janma. This enablement happens through the ascendant lord of the D10. Please do not look at the ascendant lord of your D1 right now. We are referring to when you are born, when we cast your horoscope, there is a lagna, there is an ascendant in your D1 chart, there is a lagna in your D9 chart, which is Navamsha. Likewise, there is a lagna in your D10 chart also. So I am referring to this ascendant lord of your D10. If the ascendant lord of the D10 is well placed, it tells us that I will be making efforts and I will have less, struggle while I am making efforts in that direction. Or I will be allowed by this universe, by the nature, to put in efforts in that direction that I am supposed to put in this lifetime. So the how well is my Lagna Lord, ascendant Lord of the D10 chart placed in the D10 will ensure this particular aspect. Okay. Then I look at the 10th house. So the 10th house of the D10 chart, again, should be, I would say, should be having strength. It's good if, planets favorable as per the Rashi in your 10th house of the D10, those planets are placed. So planets in friendly signs, planets in their own Rashis if they are placed. And I would rather say that there should be less malefic aspects on the 10th house. Though again, we all understand that the Upachaya houses, which is 3, 6, 10, 11, these are the Upachaya houses. So malefics do well in these particular houses. So again, don't be too much concerned if you find malefics in the 10th house of your D10 chart. The same rules will apply, that a Mars will be welcome in the 10th house. It is extremely powerful in the 10th house, the Senapati himself, the commander of the army. Likewise, the sun is extremely welcome in the 10th house. So we will apply the same rules that we use in Vedic astrology while we are, reading somebody's D1 chart. That is the Lagna Kundli. After we assess the ascendant lord strengths of the D10 chart, we assess the 10th house of the D10 chart, the strength of the 10th house lord of the D10 chart. And then we have to quickly assess where is Saturn placed. More comfortable Saturn is placed, with more strength Saturn is placed in a particular house. Please understand, we should be very happy if we find an exalted Saturn in the Dasamsa. Okay, because in the beginning I said that Saturn is your main significator or the main karka of the Dashamsha Kundli, the D10 chart. However, please understand and appreciate the more strength Saturn is sitting with. So if you have an exalted Saturn, Saturn in its own Mool Trikon Rashi Aquarius, Saturn in its own Rashi Capricorn, okay, Saturn exalted in Libra, please understand the amount of effort and hard work that you are supposed to do in this Janma is immense. So when you have a very strong Saturn, it shows a lot of hard work, a lot of effort, and you have to have a lot of patience, perseverance, and you have to continue doing your karma. Okay. And you should not be at that time getting bothered about when will the results come, why are the results not getting manifested. You have to slog, you have to put in a lot of efforts. So the more strength you see Saturn is placed, it is a blessing. But when you are blessed, when the energy is blessing you, when you are blessed by Almighty, when you are blessed by God, that means God also wants you to perform higher duties, higher karma, rather more karma. You are the dear one, and hence you are the chosen one, I should say it this way. So, okay, so it's very good to have a exalted or a very strongly placed Saturn in your Dashamsha. That definitely tells us that finally, with a lot of efforts and a lot of hard work, you for sure will be mastering that particular the karmas related to that particular house where you have this Saturn placed in your D10 horoscope. After we assess these three things, the Lagna Lord, the ascendant Lord of the D10, the 10th house and the 10th house Lord strength of the D10, Saturn's placement in the D10, its strength, overall strength in the D10. Then we will look at a Gemini Karaka, friends, which is called Amatyakaraka. Now, you might have heard of these Karkas, the Atma Karka, which is the soul significator. Okay, that's the king of your chart. Okay, it simply is the king in this Janma, in your D1, in your Lagna Kundli, whichever house your Atma Karka, your Char Atma Karka, your Char soul significator is sitting, the karmas or the Kark Tattvas of those house are basically the pending karma that you have to carry out in this Janma. There is a minister to the king, okay? There is an executioner to this king. If Atmakaraka is the king, then the minister or the executioner to this Atmakaraka is the Amatyakaraka in your horoscope. Atmakaraka, guys, is the planet with the highest degree in your D1 chart. Okay, whichever planet is with the highest degree qualifies to be your Char Atmakaraka. And please do count Rahu definitely along with the other 7 planets while you are trying to zero down on your Atmakaraka in this lifetime. And while you are trying to assess the degrees traveled by a particular planet in your D1 chart, please remember for calculating the degrees traveled by the planet Rahu in your D1 chart, whatever degrees Rahu is placed in your horoscope, you need to subtract that from 30 to actually get how many degrees has Rahu traveled. This is exactly because Rahu is always retrograde, so it is in backward motion. Okay, so if once you assess the planet with the highest degree, including Rahu, you get your Atmakaraka, which is the king. Now, there is a second highest degree planet also. After the Atmakaraka is, we calculate or we figure out which is the Atmakaraka in my horoscope, in my D1 chart. Then I will look at the planet with the second highest degree. This planet with the second highest degree is referred to as the Amatyakaraka. This is the minister to the king. This is the actual executioner who will carry out all the karmas as per the wishes of the Atmakaraka. Remember this. That means this Amatyakaraka in Gemini Jyotish, in Gemini Shastra, is basically the significator of your professional life, of your karma, of your profession. So Amatyakaraka, after you identify it in your D1 chart, the planet with the second highest degree, the placement of the Amatyakaraka in your Dasamsa becomes extremely imperative. So I talked about the ascendant lord of the D10 chart, friends. If it is sitting with a lot of strength, it is well disposed, it will allow me to carry out the karmas, or it will allow me to put in efforts in the right direction in this janma. I'm not saying you will get results. So a very strong Lagna Lord in the D10 doesn't confirm a meteoric rise in your career. Please understand this. A well-placed Lagna Lord of the D10 chart, well-placed in your D10, tells us that you will be getting those circumstances or opportunities will be available in this lifetime for you to put in efforts in the right direction. Okay, you will find less hurdles in that direction while you're putting in efforts. Then I said you will look at the strength of your 10th house in the Dashamsh Kundli. You will look at the strength of the 10th house Lord of the Dashamsh Kundli. And it might be also recommended that we might also try and look at the 10th house Lord of our D1 chart in the Dashamsh Kundli. It will again, the more harmony the 10th house Lord has with the D10 chart, again less struggle, less hurdles, and we are able to, I would say, carry out those karmas which will give us rise in this Janma. After I talked about the 10th house lord of the D10, of the D1, the strength of the 10th house of the D10 chart, I talked about planet Saturn, which will exactly tell us where those efforts have to be made, in which direction. This we will assess through the placement of Saturn in the D10 chart. The more power Saturn is sitting with, please understand the more efforts it requires, but it is for sure that you will be able to master that particular house where you have a very strong Saturn placed in your Dashamsh, in your D10. And now we will look at this Gemini Karaka, which is the second highest planet as far as the degrees are concerned. The second highest degree planet in your D1 chart, which is minister to the king. The king here is the Atmakaraka, the planet with the highest degree. This Amatyakaraka placement is to be assessed in your D10. If your Amatyakaraka is sitting with a lot of strength in the D10, that will show rise, or that will show success in your career. If there is, connection between the Amatyakaraka, okay, and your 10th house of the D10 chart, if there is connection between the Amatyakaraka and the Lagna Lord of your D10 chart, or your Lagna of your D10 chart, if there is a connection between the Amatyakaraka and Saturn in the D10 chart, these are all welcome combinations. This gives us opportunities in this life to carry out karmas in the right direction. See, I'm nowhere saying that it's an overnight success for anyone, guys. Without karma, that meteoric rise is ruled out, is not possible. We have to make an efforts. But at times, we need to be getting those opportunities in this lifetime so that we are able to make efforts in the right direction is what is required first. I need to get that kind of an environment. I need to get that kind of a circumstances in this lifetime. I need to get those kind of avenues and opportunities for me to work hard in that direction and then rise. So the D10 chart not only is limited to see rise or success in one's career, the D10 chart actually tells us, and along with the D10, all the different planets in the Karkas that I referred so far, they will tell us which is the path, which is my prarabdha, which is predestined for me. It is recommended that I choose that path. It is recommended I put in directions in that particular direction as per my Saturn's placement. And the blessing, the Amatyakaraka, holds the key to finally that blessing to get manifested in this Janma. It is important to see how beautifully is the Amatyakaraka in harmony with the 10th house of my D10 chart, with the 10th lord of my D10 chart, with the 10th lord of my D1 chart within the D10, and with Saturn in my D10 chart. I hope so far we are clear about what all we need to look at while we are assessing somebody's career, and we have gone microscopically inside the 10th house, which is the Dashamsha. And we all understand the Shamsha we calculate by, basically we are dividing every single Rashi into 3 equal divisions, so 10 degrees each. So that's why we say while we were doing a Navamsha, we were dividing, there were, it was 3 degree 20 minutes, the divisions. Okay. So we divided, I would say 30 degrees or one Rashi in 9 equal divisions, which was 3.33 degrees or 3 degrees and 20 minutes. While we are computing somebody's Dashamsha, we are dividing that 30 degrees or that one Rashi in 3 equal divisions of 10 degrees each. Now I would just share my screen so that I can show you a Dashamsha, which will make more sense. So just bear with me. Let me share my screen with you guys. And that will be more easier for you to understand. Okay. Now my screen is visible and I have just taken Okay, I'm considering the current timing. Okay, it is not an individual chart that I have. I'm extremely thankful, Suryansh, that you know. That's exactly what I'm trying to do, Suryansh. That rather than just making videos on a particular concept, my main objective here is to actually explain the yatharth of Vedic astrology, to explain you how easily, if you listen to my videos, if you refer to my videos in my playlist, you yourself will be, you know, to an extent equipped to make those, to assess or to, read your chart yourselves, and then to assess for yourself which is that direction which is good for you. Okay. So that's my main objective, friends. Just give me one sec. Okay. And while I am, continuing with my conversation, I would request every viewer to please support me in growing this family of Astro Satyajit on YouTube. So please do subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet subscribed to it. And please do share my videos with all other astrology enthusiasts so that they also get benefit of this, science of Vedic astrology. And here I am trying to educate you guys with the real Vedic astrology. And these are not those sensationalized videos or those sensational reels that I am targeting to make, that, I just give you certain upayas and remedies and overnight your life changes. If that was that easy, friends, every such astrologer who is coming onto YouTube or Insta or any other mode like Facebook, and if they are making those reels or those snapshot predictions, if they are making, or if they are giving those snapshot upayas to become a millionaire, billionaire overnight, or to, be successful in a relationship overnight, I'm not sure how come they are not using those remedies or those upayas in their own life, and how come they are not able to do magic for themselves. So Vedic astrology is not magic. Vedic astrology is way of life, friends. Everyone is born with a blessed chart. Okay, there is no chart which is more blessed or lesser blessed. Please understand this. We have to understand the configuration. We have to understand the framework with which we are born. We have to understand those, how those 9 planets are distributed within those 12 houses, not only within our D1, but even the other divisional charts, as we are talking about the Dasamsa today. And we have to actually live. We have to live the way the planet wants us to in this particular lifetime. And once we do that, once we make these planets as part of way of living, okay, it becomes the way of life. Astrology then starts doing wonders for us, but yes, along with the parakram and the karma. So hence today we are on that same karma theory, which is very important. So we are on the Shamsha. Now guys, just see, in this particular chart, it is a Taurus ascendant individual's chart. Okay, this is as per the current timing I've just considered. If I take the current timing, yeah, exactly, it's 9:16, so 57 seconds. So I've just casted the horoscope. It tells me, see now, if somebody is trying to check on their career, I see Rahu in the 10th house. Okay. It's a well-placed Rahu, no doubts, because in Gemini Shastra, Rahu is also the co-lord of Aquarius. So more or less, it is the 10th house lord is sitting within the 10th house. And moreover, Saturn is also in the 11th. So it's good. The 10th house lord being in the 11th house, it's good. Okay. So you get those rewards, you get those returns through the efforts that you make in your 10th house. The Lagnesh, the ascendant lord Venus, placed in the 4th house, is aspecting the 10th house. Again, a good thing. Okay. You will focus in your career. you will focus in achieving, status, honor, respect in this Janma. Okay. Now, I was referring to the D10 chart. Okay. This is the Dashamsh Kundli, guys. Okay. Let me rotate it from the Lagna. So this is the Dashamsh Kundli. Now, what all did I refer to? I said, first of all, we will look at the strength of the Lagna Lord of the D10 chart. Now, in this particular example, the Lagna in the D10, guys, is Leo Lagna. Okay, it's a Leo rising. Okay, it was a Taurus rising within the D1. It is a Cancer rising in his D9. It is a Sagittarius rising in the Shashtiyamsha D60. However, the D10 that we are referring to in this discussion today, it's a Leo rising. So we have to first look at where is Sun placed in this D10 chart. We find Sun is placed with its friend Mercury in the 5th house. So the Lagna Lord in the 5th house is a good placement. It's a trine house and it is placed with its own friend. So it's a Buddha-Aditya Yoga getting formed in the Dashamsha, Sun and Mercury together. And if you see, there are no negative aspects on this Sun. See, Rahu from the 2nd house of the Dashamsha cannot aspect your Sun. The Saturn from the 4th house is not aspecting the Sun. The Ketu from the 8th house is not aspecting the Sun. So there are no afflictions to this Lagna Lord of the Dashamsh Kundli, which is a very good thing. It is very welcome. Okay, so that means the Lagna Lord is well placed, sitting in a friendly Rashi of Sagittarius. So Jupiter and Sun are friends. The Lagna Lord, the Lord of the 1st house, is sitting in the 5th house. Again, it's a trine connection. So the Lagna Lord is well placed, not afflicted. So whatever efforts this person, I'm doing good, Apurva. So whatever efforts this person will be putting in this Janma, there'll be less hurdles in its in the path. Why? Because the Lagna Lord is well placed. Lagna Lord of the Dashamsha is Sun in this example. Then we look at the 10th house strength and the 10th house Lord of the Dashamsha. Now, if you see the 10th house having the 10th Lord Venus is in its own Rashi. That's again another blessing that the 10th house Lord is in the 10th house. Okay. Now you might look at that it is being afflicted by Saturn. But remember, Saturn is the 10th house Lord of the D1 chart. So in this case, if Saturn is the 10th house Lord of your D10 chart, of your D1 chart, that making a connection with the 10th lord of the D10 chart, that making a connection with the 10th house of the D10 chart, again, it's a very good combination. It's a very good alignment. Saturn and Venus both mutually aspecting each other. Venus being the 10th lord of the D10 chart, Saturn being the 10th lord of the D1 chart. Okay. Then we talked about, we will look at the strength of Saturn. Now, Saturn is, I would not say that it is very comfortably placed because first of all, it is in an enemy Rashi, in an enemy sign. So it is placed in, Scorpio, in Vrishchik Rashi, in Mars sign. Saturn will not be that comfortable. And Saturn in the 4th house, again, Saturn is Digbali in the 7th, guys. Saturn is extremely Digbalheen or very weak in the Lagna. So the 4th house, I could say it's okay. But as far as the Rashi placement is concerned, it might be having slightly, it is perturbed. Okay. It is not that comfortably placed. However, we need to now understand that Saturn is in the 4th house. So where those efforts have to be made in this Janma, it is related to the Karak Tattvas of the 4th house where you need to make a lot of efforts in this Janma. What is the 4th house? You should be, first of all, fulfilling all your duties and responsibilities towards your mother in this Janma. if you want any kind of rise in your career. See, now this is how we need to link. The living Karak Tattva of the fourth house is mother. If the Karm Karka Saturn is placed in the fourth house in the microscopic chart of career, which is the Shamsha D10. So our first karya, the first karma is that we have to fulfill all our duties and responsibilities towards our mother. We have to fulfill all our duties and responsibilities towards the motherland, our homeland, our country that we are born in. So this is first. Then the fourth house is education also, friends. When we look at the education, I always said that we have to look at the second house, the fourth house, the fifth house, and the ninth house to assess somebody's, academic journey or somebody's education. Now, this fourth house is Gyan. The fourth house is also education. As I said, mother. So now this person has to work a lot to acquire knowledge in this Janma. So he should study. First thing, if the individual comes in early in life for a reading, the first thing that I would say, other than fulfilling duties and responsibilities to your mother, you have to work a lot to acquire gyan and knowledge in this janma. So the more you study, the more knowledge you acquire, the more you will rise in this janma. This is the beauty of astrology, friends. It looks like an afflicted 10th house. Saturn is afflicting Venus in this chart. Saturn is a Akarak in this Kundali. If it's a Leo ascendant chart, Saturn owns the 6th house and the 7th house, a Marak Sthan and a Trik Sthan. However, that's not exactly how we look at. They will have their own role. So there'll be certain struggles in the journey. But it is for sure that you have to fulfill the Karak Tattvas of the fourth house. So you have to acquire as much as knowledge that you can. Please study as much as you can in this Janma. Fulfill all your responsibilities towards your mother in this Janma. And any studies or any efforts in the direction or in with the Karak Tattvas of the fourth house. So what are the Karak Tattvas of the fourth house, friends? The Karak Tattvas of the fourth house is the automobile industry. The Karak Tattvas of the fourth house will be the real estate industry. The Karak Tattvas of the fourth house, again, as I said, it can be anything where you acquire knowledge, educational institutes. Okay. So you can do very well in the teaching profession. You can do very well in the real estate world, real estate industry. You can do very well in the education industry. You can do very well, in the, I said in the vehicle or the automobile industry. But please remember, there is a lot of efforts that you need to put in to master this fourth house. It will not come that easy. It will not come that easy because Saturn is placed here. So Saturn will ensure that you put in a lot of efforts. Only then you see that rise. Now, before we go further, we talked about Amatyakaraka. Now just see, when you see Rahu at 23 degrees and 55 minutes, just to give you an example, if this is 24 degrees approximately, so this is not the degrees to be considered for Rahu. We will subtract this from 30. So it will come to 6 degrees and 5 minutes. So Rahu will definitely not qualify to be the planet with the highest degree. So it's not an Atmakaraka in this case, in this example. If you look at all the planetary degrees, friends, you see Venus is placed at 29 degrees and 18 minutes. This happens to be your planet with the highest degree. So this is your Atmakaraka or the king of the horoscope. Okay. Now, if we see Jupiter, 29 degrees and 6 minutes, just few minutes behind. It's 29 degrees and 18 minutes. This is 29 degrees and 6 minutes. This becomes the minister of the chart, the Amatyakaraka. Okay. So it is very important we look at Jupiter's placement in the Dashamsh Kundli of this individual. Now, when you see the Amatyakaraka placement, you find the Amatyakaraka in the 8th house. Okay. The Atmakaraka is in the 10th house, okay, which is Venus, but the Amatyakaraka is in the 8th house along with Mars and Ketu, high energy planets, okay. And the 8th house, you know, in the Kalpurush Kundli, Mars has ownership of the 8th house, that is Scorpio, and Ketu is the co-lord of Scorpio as per Gemini Shastra, okay. So we have the 8th house energies very prominent in this Dashamsh Kundli. Just understand the 10th house is strong. The 10th lord of the D1 and the 10th lord of the D10 are connected through mutual aspect. However, the 8th house is extremely significant in this example. We have the 8th house lord placed in the 8th house, so Jupiter in Pisces. And we have the, significators of the 8th house also in that 8th house. So both Mars and Jupiter are in the 8th house of the Dashamsha. Now, this tells us what? That whatever profession that this person will get into, or whatever efforts this Saturn will ensure that it makes in this 4th house, that will all be extremely, like, either it is, we have to go deep. So it can be, I would say, like, engineering. Okay. So if I say, if this is the 4th house and this is, real estate, so this can be a civil engineer's chart. So if somebody studies civil engineering, that will be very good. So they have to go beneath the soil. The civil engineers, when they build a structure, when they design a structure, they have to go beneath. Okay. So the 8th house is beneath the soil. Understand this. The 8th house is occult. The 8th house is research. The 8th house is surgeries and engineering. Deep study. Now, this can be also a chart where it can be a chart for research scholar. So you study a lot. You are within that educational, domain. As I said, you become a professor, and you do a doctorate. You become, you bring out something new through your research in that field that you're studying, or in that field that you are a teacher of. So you have to have that flavor of the 8th house. So you have to go very deep, whichever, you know career that you choose, whichever line of work that you choose, you have to go very deep inside. So this cannot be, you know, a profile of a normal salesperson who is just told the product features and certain USPs of the product, and you go out to the market and start selling through your vocabulary, through your oratory skills and persuasive skills. The 8th house research tells me that these guys can be the marketing gurus in a normal corporate setup. They understand the product or the service line in and out. They know the uh, drawbacks of that product. They know the strengths. They know the areas which are vulnerable. So they know it in and out. They have gone deep into it. They can be those technology guys who are building a product from scratch, the coders. They are those, those research scholars, those scientists who might have those patents for a particular product, or a, particular application, a service. And even if this person studies astrology, hear me out, even if this person chooses to study astrology, okay, the occult, then also this person will do very well in that respective line, because first of all, study, the 4th house is gaining knowledge. So if you gain knowledge of this divine science, say astrology, okay, which is one of those occult studies, and your 8th house energy is supporting it in the Dashamsha, the 8th house is getting supported. This 4th house lord is also sitting in the 8th house, okay, which is also your 9th house lord in the Dashamsh Kundli. So now understand that how we connected the whole story. And yes, we will look at the Mahadasha, Antardasha. So now if you see this person from 3rd April 2026, his Venus Mahadasha will begin. Now understand, The Venus is the Atmakaraka, the planet with the highest pending karma. So this will be that transformational, that trying period in one's life. These 20 years are not just for having fun and enjoying life because somebody said that Venus Mahadasha is only for pleasures. In this particular example, this Venus Mahadasha may be that transformational Mahadasha. Maybe it will be. I should not use the word maybe because the Atmakaraka will be functioning. And this Atmakaraka is, you know, absolutely linked with the 10th house. The Atmakaraka is linked with the 10th house of the Dasamsa. The Atmakaraka is linked with the, I would say, 10th lord of the D1 chart. So in the Mahadasha of Venus, exactly when he goes through this transformation, he has to rise in his career through research, through occult. He has to put in lot of efforts in gaining knowledge as much as he can with related to any stream which qualifies in the 8th house. That means if this person goes and studies about petroleum, yes. If this person goes and, I would say gets into civil engineering, okay, real estate as well as engineering, okay, this person can also look at any research oriented work. So that's why I said the flavor of the, and now we will validate it through the D1 chart where all it will get externally manifested. So finally, we have to look at the D1 chart before we are concluding on the D10. Okay. In the D1, now see, the 6th house is about legal profession, medical profession. This is the house of competition. So your Mercury, the learning karka, which is also your 5th house lord, is in the 6th house, 1. Okay. So that means your learning will be related to the 6th house, 6th. So you can study about, you can study legal, you can study medical. Okay, you can study legal, you can study medical. Then if we look at the connection between the 10th lord and your education houses. So we see the 4th house lord, which is the house of knowledge, okay, which is sun. The lord is sun. It is again having a connect with Saturn. Now this person, even if he, so what will be the professions that we'll finally tell him? So we will say, first of all, study as much as you can and gain as much knowledge as you can in this Janma, because your Saturn is telling you to make efforts in the 4th house. Then we can also see that the Atmakaraka, okay, the Atmakaraka is placed in the 4th house of the D1 chart. So the Atma wants to complete the pending karmas related to the Karak Tattvas of the 4th, which are again mother, real estate, knowledge, automobiles. So if the Atmakaraka, see, this is how so beautifully it gets linked, friends. This is just a random, chart which I just pulled out as per the current timing. Venus, the Atmakaraka, is saying carry out or complete the karmas related to the 4th. The Dashamsha is supporting it further. Put in efforts with the Karak Tattvas of the 4th. The Atmakaraka is saying once you put in efforts, I will give you results of the D10. I am strong, well placed. The Atmakaraka is saying I am there in the 10th house of the D10. Okay. The Lagna Lord of the D10 is supporting by being placed in a friendly Rashi with a friendly planet Mercury. And this 8th house activation in the D10 tells us that whatever you study, It has to, either it is occult or it is a deep study, a research, engineering, as I said. This is how you will read. And yes, there are, we will refer to the Navamsha, we will refer to the Shashtiyamsha. There are multiple, we will look at the Dashakram. However, just to give you a concept of what all is to be looked at when we are, trying to study once the Shamsha chart. So these particular aspects are extremely imperative. Okay. Now, let me take one, I would say, question today. I think I will take up, and I would request all of you to please do subscribe to my channel if you people have still not subscribed yet. Okay. This is a humble request. Please help me expand this family of Astro Satyajit on YouTube. And I remember front man, okay, from Ambala. He joined an event yesterday, and I said that we will take up your question maybe in the subsequent interactions. So let me take up front man's question. I hope you're still there with us. If front man from Ambala, Haryana is still there, I will take Apurva. I would request you to please subscribe and stay connected. Please hit the bell icon so that you get those immediate, I would say, notifications once I come live on YouTube. And every day I do come live, and I will take up your question maybe tomorrow. And if front man has left the chat, then I will take somebody else's question in the same order. I'll just check if front man is still there. If he's not there, then let me take the question of, in that case, I will take the question of Suryansh Dwivedi, because I understand, Study Corner, that you've been following me for quite a long time, and I will not disappoint you. We will definitely, once I come live tomorrow, I would request you to join my session, and I will definitely take your question tomorrow. Today, I am taking the question of Suryansh Dwivedi. And in the meanwhile, I'm again humbly requesting all my viewers to please subscribe to my channel and help me grow this family of Astro Satyajit on YouTube. And now let me feed in the details of Suryansh. Okay. Suryansh Dwivedi. No worries, Aflatun gamers. You can join in tomorrow, and I will definitely take your question also along with Study Corner. And see, it's just a couple, matter of a day or two. I will genuinely be coming live every day, and you guys will definitely get an opportunity to get your questions answered. 23rd Jan 2004. 23rd Jan 2004. That's for Suryansh, and the time of birth given is 12:15 p.m. So 12:15 in the afternoon. Okay. The place of birth is Dhamtari, Chhattisgarh. So the state is Chhattisgarh. Let me pull up Chhattisgarh. And the city is Dhamtari. Okay. Dhamtari. So Suryansh, we have made your chart. So I'll confirm your details. It's for Suryansh Divedi, 23rd Jan 2004, 12:15 in the afternoon. The place of birth is uh, Dhamtari, Chhattisgarh, India. I hope your details are correct, Suryansh. Okay. And you want to know about career, so it's a relevant topic. That's what we were doing a discussion about the Dasamsa and how it plays a role in our career and the karma that we do. Okay, you are studying B.Tech in your third year, and you're talking about your placement chances next year, 2026-27. So August 2026 to March 2027. Yeah. So if you look at your career house, okay. So you have your 10th house lord, Saturn, placed in the house of efforts, Parakram, which is the third house. Okay. It makes you extremely hardworking. It makes you extremely courageous. It makes you extremely Parakrami. And you will never shy away from putting in efforts or putting in hard work in this Janma. Okay. And yes, your D10 Lagna is Libra. You're absolutely correct. And your D9 Lagna is Virgo, and your D60 Lagna is Gemini. Okay. So first of all, the 10th house has Sun and Moon. So it is, you were born very close to the Amavasya Tithi. Okay. So basically, Pratima maybe. So just in the Shukla Paksh, the first Tithi of the Shukla Paksh when you were born. I'm not going to your Panchang right now, but the sun moon degrees tell me. So it's a sun in the 10th house is welcome. Moon in the 10th house gives some fluctuations in the career, but this gives leadership, this gives authority. I'm referring to the sun. And if I refer to your fifth house lord, so your fifth house lord is the education, or the learnings, the skills that you acquire, the learnings. Okay. The And if the fifth house lord is making a connection with the 10th house, so your profession, your career will be related to the education. Okay. So you'll not be completely doing something else and you're studying something else right now. So if you're doing your engineering, whichever stream you are uh, studying currently, you will primarily start your career. You will be, connected to your education, or you will be using your education in your career. Let me put it that way. Your house of Bhagya, the luck, the ninth house lord, Bhagyadipati, the grace of God, is very well placed because the ninth house lord, Jupiter, has moved ninth from its place in the fifth. So it not only makes you lucky in your education, so that means absolutely fine. So in your education, if you are doing your engineering or in your computer science, you cannot be the one who will not get placed. You will, because in your education, okay, in your learning, fifth house is all about learning. Your bhagya is giving in complete support. The ninth house lord himself, Jupiter, is placed in the fifth house. This confirms that luck is with you in your education. Luck is with you in your academics. So whatever good that you want from your education, this well-placed Jupiter is confirming. And see, this Jupiter is so beautifully, not just beautifully placed, it will give you all results, because from 21st November 2026, this Jupiter Mahadasha is going to get activated. So from November 2026, once Jupiter gets activated, you will get to see the actual Jupiter Mahadasha results from once this neutral period is over. Jupiter, Jupiter, Jupiter. So Mahadasha of Jupiter, Antardasha of Jupiter, and Pratyantardasha of Jupiter, which runs only till 5th March 2027. So you will get the blessing of Jupiter, which is your bhagya, in your education, in your studies. The moment we are on 5th of March 2027. So it exactly, you know, is that time. So before 5th March 2027, you have the good news with you. You will have your placement offer. You will have your placement letter. You will have the offer from that, from that organization that you will try for. So God bless you. And now if I have to look at your Dashamsha, your Lagna Lord, Venus in the Dashamsha I'm referring is placed in the 10th house. Okay, Venus in a watery sign, I would say okay. However, the Lagna Lord in the 10th house in the D10 tells me that the Lagna Lord or the ascendant Lord of the D10 will is in harmony because it is placed in the 10th house of the D10. Then I will look at the 10th house Lord of the D10, of the D1. The 10th house Lord of the D1 is exalted in the Lagna, okay? And the 10th Lord of the D10 moon is in the 9th. It has gone to the Bhagyasthan. This is showing a Karma Dharma Adhipati Yoga. The 10th Lord moon being in the 9th house. Exalted sun in the 1st house. Now what it tells me, you have to work very hard on your on developing your personality. You have to work very hard on your on developing your own, you know, character, your image, your brand. The more people value you as a person, the more people value you as a subject matter expert in your field. That is what will give you rise, meteoric rise. You have to focus on the 1st house, but it will not be that easy. If you remember, I said Saturn is exalted, but Saturn is also perturbed with the energy of the 1st house because Saturn is Digbalheen in the 1st house. Saturn is Digbali in the 7th. It is extremely vulnerable in the completely perturbed. The only thing, this exaltation energy is balancing out that perturbed Saturn energy in the 1st, but it's you, your character, your personality, your image, which will take you. So those are the areas. Your own health, you'll have to work. Okay, you have to keep lethargy aside. You cannot have lethargy ever, taking control over your life. You have to be that karmat vyakti. You have to be that person which you are, the hard working person who wants to put in efforts. Okay, and you will get that support. Why I'm saying you'll get the support? Now you see, your Rahu is 2316, so it doesn't qualify to be the Atmakaraka. It is hardly 7 degrees. So Mars becomes your Atmakaraka and Moon becomes your Amatyakaraka. Mars is 29 degrees 2 minutes, Moon is 27 degrees 28 minutes. Now your Atmakaraka is in the 11th, but the Amatyakaraka, now see, it's beautiful. The Amatyakaraka Moon, the Gemini Karaka, which talked about the Gemini Karaka, which talks about one's profession. It is placed in the 10th in your D1, first of all. That same Amatya Karaka moon also happens to be your 10th house lord of your D10 chart, very well placed in the 9th. So it confirms that long distance travel, higher education, knowledge, all this is there in your career and you will surely rise. Now you're asking me, very good. Very good. Now, see, your Rahu again is strong in the 1st house, and I would say your Jupiter Mahadasha will definitely support you in your career. And so there are no, and okay, you talked about astrology. See, the 8th house lord of the Dashamsha, which is Venus, has a connection with your 10th house. You are a Libra ascendant Jatak in the D10. So the Lagna Lord and the eighth house Lord are the same planet, which is Venus. So anybody who's a Libra ascendant, either in the D1 or a Libra ascendant in the D9 or a Libra ascendant in the D10 or a Libra ascendant in the D60, they will usually have that interest in astrology, and not just interest. It will not be just limited to interest based on the strength, how comfortably Venus is placed, how strongly Venus is placed in one's horoscope or those divisional charts. That eighth house link will come. And yes, the learning karka, Mercury, is with the Adhyatmik Karka, the spiritual Karka, the Moksha Karka. So good. You definitely should study, and you are welcome. Right now you are in engineering. I'll not disturb you. While you can always connect with me on my WhatsApp number if you ever want a detailed reading, or you can also join my Vedic astrology classes, which I run over weekends. And God bless you, Suryansh. It's a blessed chart. You will do very well for yourself. God bless you. So that's all, friends. I will keep it. I'll rather hold it for today. And before I leave all of you, I would again humbly request, please do subscribe to my channel, Astro Satyajit on YouTube. Please share and like my videos. Please comment on my videos. How do you find the content? Do you appreciate the relevance? And please share these videos in other forums with other astrology enthusiasts. Help me expand this family of Astro Satyajit. And please, you can reach out to me on my WhatsApp number or through my website, which is given in the description of my videos. And thank you so much. God bless you all. Jai Shri Ram, dosto. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha.